We had Karl Rove and Peggy Noonan on Sundays this week with George Stephanopoulos. And I would say Karl Rove has been proven one of the most, well, I don't want to say totally incompetent. I mean, he certainly had success with George W. Bush, but at least in the 2012 election, not a guy you wanted to count on to get your people elected. And Peggy Noonan, probably one of the most annoying people in general commenting on politics. They were on with George Stephanopoulos, making the case for why the Supreme Court might not choose to advance the cause of equality, but instead leave it for the states to decide. Let's hear first from Peggy Noonan here. And I do warn you that she is incredibly annoying.
Kennedy, in a speech in Sacramento this month, said a democracy should not be dependent for its major decisions on what 9 unelected people from a narrow legal background have to say.
Yeah, Americans don't take it well and don't accept it as a resolution when their black-robed masters in Washington decide to put on them what they decide is the right thing.
Right.
One of the great sins of Roe versus Wade, the abortion decision of 40 years ago, was that it decided everybody has to do it one way instead of leaving it to the states. It seems to me it is certainly in line with conservative political thinking, but I think it would be acceptable certainly to liberal thinking that when there are these gnawing, disagreeing questions going on in America, if you can't solve it here, you can say everybody can solve it down there.
Yeah, this is just so annoying. And it's really so funny that before the argument against marriage equality was, listen, if you take a national poll, most people don't want it, right? Most people are against this. Now, of course, we have 58% of people in favor of marriage equality, and really probably more, a lot of people just not comfortable saying that that's what they believe because they may be in communities where it is stigmatized. So all of a sudden now, you know, it is the will of the people at this point, but we can't have the Supreme Court just decide for everybody. It's not moving the goalposts. It's changing the playing field altogether.
Right. It's really, and how different is it than a state telling everyone in the state that it's acceptable? I mean,
right.
It's really not that different. And
well, what is the difference, Natan? They would argue it's an issue of how the government was designed to work, right? That, hey, it is different if it's each state deciding instead of the federal government, right?
Look,
it's really a federalist type thing.
In 1967, in the case Loving versus Virginia, the court ruled that banning racial intermarriage is unconstitutional. When that was ruled, more than half of people in this country were agreeing with those bans. When there is a civil rights issue, it shouldn't be left to the tyranny of the majority.
Let's hear, Lewis, from Karl Rove also, because he didn't waste any time getting involved in the hijinks.
Work questions out that way as much as possible.
Karl Rove, can you imagine the next presidential campaign, a Republican candidate saying flat out, I am for gay marriage?
I could, but you know what? Let's stay for here for a moment. Yeah. One of the interesting things to me is going to be, we've talked about Justice Roberts and Justice Kennedy. I'm interested in Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
She has had comments in the past about Roe v. Wade, which Peggy mentioned.
Absolutely.
That said, in essence,
went too far,
too fast,
yes.
and we maybe should not have imposed one national view from the court. And what we may see is a decision here that in essence has not a 5-4 decision, but a 6-3, 7-2 that says leave it up to the states. In fact, we could see an 8-1.
Yeah. So Karl Rove, the 2012 election is evidence that we don't necessarily want to listen to Karl Rove's predictions, right? We saw how bad he was at predicting stuff back in 2012 in the 2012 election. But that being said, he could end up being right about the decision ultimately. But do any of us think there's any chance that this goes 8-1 against the furthering of equality? Do we think that's even a remote possibility? I don't believe so. Lewis?
Unlikely.
Natan?
Absolutely not. It's incredibly unlikely that they're going to rule that Prop 8 is constitutional. What they might do, as I said before, is say that the case is null and void because the people who brought it don't have standing, which would functionally make Prop 8 unconstitutional.